Hey everyone. Okay, so this chapter does finally give me what I've been begging for, which is a look into what happened on the day King Harald was killed. And in typical fashion for something like this, it really was a wrong place, wrong time scenario, as especially in Loki's cases. Seemingly, something caused Harald to go stark raving mad. Now, in saying in saying that, what I wasn't entirely expecting from this flashback was for there to be a direct connection to Shanks, as we're learned shortly after after squaring away his familial affiliations to basically the Figureland family. Shanks was met with Harald in secret to set up a meeting on Elbaf, likely to talk about concerns related to the Void Century and whatnot. So when combining that information with what we know so far, yeah, it's almost a guarantee now at this point that the Holy Knights were indirectly responsible for Harald's death by way of making him go insane. Like I'm not entirely gonna vilify Loki here, because given the current situation, I wouldn't be surprised if Loki is still technically responsible for delivering the killing blow to Harald, but it's one of those context matters kind of situations, and the reason why he killed Harald now. But this does line up with the idea that he was forced to kill him, and not that he wanted to kill him. Now, of course, the other part of this is the Forbidden Devil Fruit, and again, I think this was more or less confirmed at this point, but given the timeline events here, we all but certainly know that the devil fruit in question was the Gum Gum fruit, the one with the power of Nika, because when we see Shanks in this chapter, he still has both his arms, so this was all before he met Luffy. But it is interesting to see how much of what happened on Elbaf was kind of the inciting incident for the entire series, and what led Shanks to attacking the government ship and getting a hold of the Gum Gum fruit to begin with. And like it really was a thing where a lot of it was because he was doing all this as a favor for basically Harald. He wanted to return like Elbaf's like priceless treasure. And I know a lot of people have complained now about the concept of fate being part of Luffy eating the Gum Gum fruit, but honestly, this to me just puts it more in the category of sheer coincidence for me, because I think Shanks' sole intention was to return the fruit. It's just that Luffy accidentally ate it, which is, when you think about it, and it just kind of mucked the whole thing up. So yeah, and yeah, the other parts of the chapter were kind of the weakest parts, but also some more interesting bits though, because a lot of that like first chunk of the chapter is really just Haraldine and Loki still like going around in circles with their argument about killing Harald, but mixed in we do also have Gabon laying down what I think is much deserved smackdown on Zoro, as he directly calls her out for his lack of awareness to having unlocked Conqueror's Haki, which, let's be real, is something we as a community have been calling out for quite a while now. The fact that the Zoro unlocking Conqueror's Haki has just gone completely unaddressed for so long, and Zoro's lack of self-awareness of this fact too, that Gabon finally addressed the way he did, I think was very refreshing. Like, let's get the ball rolling on Zoro actually controlling it now shall we? Now that like Gabon straight up said, "You have Conqueror's Haki, you stupid bitch," because I mean not that, but you still get the idea. Because yeah, this is a battle that Luffy cannot win alone, and the fact that Conqueror's Haki is a requirement for this fight, like Zoro going so long without being aware of or unable to control it is a fucking miracle in itself that he survived this long. But now it's time to do some serious mental training, Mosshead. Go ahead and start learning that shit. You're actually gonna have to put in that mind of yours to work, and again, I'm all here for it. Of course, just to keep it fair, Zoro's not the only one who needs to learn this, as I had to look it up to remind myself, but to Zoro's credit, he at least awakened Conqueror's Haki, whereas Sanji, yeah, has yet to do so, and that's assuming he has the ability to do it to begin with, although he probably will. And it feels, one thing I think that this chapter really, I think, addressed talked about to me, really spoke to me about, is that it feels like this chapter as a whole was really drawing attention to the fact that in order for Sanji and Zoro to really be the right and left wings that'll carry Luffy to become the Pirate King, like, this is the final hurdle for them to overcome. They pretty much need they need to unlock Conqueror's Haki, especially the further down the line we go. No matter how Luffy phrases it with just wanting to go on an adventure and whatnot, the more down the line we go, the more they're going to have to deal with the government and more to deal with the Holy Knights, especially. So yeah, both Zoro and Sanji learning this, it's kind of key. It's kind of key for them to. It's kind of key for the crew to move forward. Now, this does bring up the question, though, as to of how this little training thing, how training them to do this is going to fit in with everything going on, how it's going to work, because the only two scenarios I can see playing out right now is the first one is that Luffy and Loki go in guns blazing to buy enough time for Gabbana to give Zoro and Sanji a crash course on using Conqueror's Haki, or they just kind of wing it and learn it in the midst of battle. And given the time crunch we're on and Oda's penchant for the characters learning things during battle, I'd be willing to bet on the latter kind of thing. Although I do also have to kind of talk about this here too. I do gotta say, I remember Oda talking about a long time ago how he said this is gonna be Usopp's arc, and that's kind of stuck with me going forward, because I can't lie, it feels like, even though we've got moments with Usopp, it feels like he's largely been ignored. Like when it comes to Usopp, like maybe his development is much more subtle than I'm making it out to be, but we haven't gotten any like drastic moments that have shown of what Oda intends, of how Oda intends to develop Usopp into a much more powerful fighter. Like, I don't know like what the development is. I don't know if what the development is supposed to be or what the plan is, but yeah, if I do have one thing, Oda does need to kind of speed up on getting to Usopp here a bit, maybe. Yeah, but yeah, aside from that though, we do get, I guess we also got to talk about the end of the chapter though, where we transition even further back in time to when Harald was much younger and the captain of the giant warrior pirates, and just in those final pages alone we see how much of a terror he was. So it'll be interesting to see what it was that made him go from this absolute madman and menace to the world to basically to becoming the beloved king who advocated and fought so strongly for the ideas of peace and unity. And I think, like a lot of people before him, he was someone who discovered the true secrets of the world and connected to the role Elbaf played in it. And that's the scenario I can imagine happening here. At the very least, it would make the most sense why he wanted Elbaf to transition into that era of peace. But that still begs the question if what we learned from the mural is the only secret he learned, or if there's more to it, because we still don't know entirely why, like the whole details of why he went so far as to tear off his own horns, other than to bury the giant's brutal history. But how brutal, how brutal was it if he went that far? And yeah, I know Luffy likely, and I guess, yeah, I know Luffy did it just to stop the squabbling between Hardin and Loki, but asking Loki to join the crew was fucking wild. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Blue Sky, and on Crunchyroll, push the notification bell, subscribe button, and just hit the video on, guys. Dark Knight Running signing off. Later, everyone.